What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Trust Your Boy podcast. My name is Stephen Wright, and I am joined by no one. Will and me could not find a time where we could get together and record the podcast. He was lucky enough to get World Series tickets for, I guess, relatively cheap. He didn't really give me a price, but below face value. So that put him out of commission for one day, and then just a lot of things going on for today, Wednesday. So, yeah, just doing this solo. So it's probably going to be a pretty quick pod here, but same format, nothing changes. We'll go through some start sit questions, do some trade questions, and wrap it up. So we'll jump right into it. No reason to discuss anything else. Start with the quarterback position like normal. We got Trevor Lawrence versus the Raiders, or Andy Dalton versus the Ravens. Not a good situation to be in. That's for sure. I wouldn't want to trust either of them. I guess to put it into like a upside versus floor perspective, if I needed higher upside, I'd probably go with Lawrence. We've seen some flash games from him. And then if I needed a safer floor, I'd probably go Dalton. Recently for fantasy, he's been fine. He hasn't, won you weeks, but he hasn't lost you weeks either. So, take a look at your weekly projections, see if you believe in them and make a call based on that. In a absolute vacuum, I think I would go with Dalton and just grab that relative safety. Maybe some, the Ravens offense scores and, their defense isn't, really coming back to form yet. So he has a better game than normal that exists. I just don't think his floor is too low. I think he's got a solid floor. So I'd rely on that unless I look like I was going to get blown out and needed a Hail Mary, in which case I'd go with Lawrence there. From the bottom of the barrel to the top of the barrel here, we got Justin Herbert at Atlanta, or Tua at Chicago. Two interesting quarterbacks. Herbert hasn't been as good as you wanted him to be for fantasy. Hasn't been bad, but hasn't been, a Josh Allen type or, anything like that. So, but he's got an easy matchup against Atlanta. Maybe too easy, and that hurts his game script, but, maybe he throws 4 touchdowns before that game script flips. On the flip side, you got Tua, a couple games off the injury now, had a big week last week. But kind of in that same boat, some of his games have been real high, some of them, not so much. And a Chicago team that's kind of on the up and up. So I think I would grab Tua here. It feels weird to say, but I think I'd grab Tua, hoping that, the Chicago offense continues to ascend. Neither defense is great, so potentially a high scoring game. But if you like Herbert more, I've no issue with that. And then the last quarterback question here, Geno Smith at Arizona or Justin Fields versus the Dolphins. This one, I guess, somewhat similar to the first. Like, I think Geno's probably safer, but I'm not sure, what the upside is. We haven't seen as many of those, high scoring weeks as we did earlier in the season, where Fields is getting better and better. That offense has changed, and he is improving and becoming a better fantasy asset. So I think I would go with Fields. Take the ascending talent. He's got the upside. And, I don't think his floor is all that bad, unless something snaps back with the Bears and they revert back to a previous offense. I think his floor is probably solid. So I'll take Fields there. We'll move into the running back position next. Half point PPR, we're picking 2. This is going to be a tough one for a Wednesday recording here. DeAndre Swift versus the Packers, Jamal Williams versus the Packers, or Kenyon Drake at New Orleans. So originally, when I was putting this document together, I was looking and thinking, well, I'm going to go with Swift and Jamal Williams because you don't know what's happening in Baltimore. If Gus plays, Drake very well may be irrelevant to some degree. Like, I'd imagine there's some sort of timeshare because Gus is coming off the injury, but definitely not what you wanted. And Monday night, it's too late to pivot. So just go with Swift and Williams because they're both, they're on a Lions team that's going to be running the ball a lot, you'd imagine. But Swift did not have a great week back last week. As of today he is not practicing. So that might not be the greatest of signs. So I might go Williams and Drake. But that's just based on, what the information I have now says. So you're really going to have to wait until game time and on Sunday to make a decision on the Swift Williams. The Swift looks like he's good to go. Maybe gets a practice in. I probably would stick with both Lions. But you need some clarity on the injury stuff. Hopefully you get that and clear that up there. Next, full PPR. Khalil Herbert versus the Dolphins. Or Eno Benjamin versus the Chargers. These Chargers-Dolphins games coming up a lot. So I think this was pretty easy. I'll go Khalil Herbert. They're running the ball a lot. He's been really good for fantasy the past couple weeks. He's got a Dolphins defense that can be beat. So he seems to be the easy one of probably has a pretty good floor and a pretty good ceiling. Eno is fine. He's not bad. But I don't think he's going to have the same upside that Herbert has necessarily. So I'm going with Herbert in that matchup. And then one more PPR here. We got Michael Carter versus the Bills and Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus the Titans. Probably not excited to start either one of these. Carter, clearly, the starter, I think, but against a very tough Bills defense. CEH, not doing well for fantasy the past 3 weeks. That situation's become a mess. But a easier matchup against the Titans. I don't want to start either. I guess I will go with Michael Carter because I think his role's more clear. Like I'm sure he's going to get volume. Or CEH, he's got the easier matchup. I just don't know if he's going to do anything. It might just be whoever else, a committee, Pacheco. I don't know. It seems like the better situation because the Chiefs are the better offense and they got a tougher match or an easier matchup against the Titans, but the situation's so murky, I don't want to trust it. So I'm going to go with Carter. No problem if you want to go with Edwards-Helaire, though. We'll move over to the wide receiver position. All PPR. This one I think is pretty easy off the bat. We got Juju versus the Titans or Kadarius Toney versus the Titans. A lot of hype around Toney and, the couple breakout games we had last year and, maybe moving to Mahomes and Andy Reid. Things are just better for him. I think that world exists, but I don't think it exists this week. Just 1 week of practice, hasn't really played all year. So it's going to take him a little bit to fully take in the playbook, to form a connection with Mahomes, to kind of get into game shape. Kadarius Toney's not a proven guy. This is Devontae Adams. I'd be like, yeah, throw him out there 1 week after missing the whole season. But Toney doesn't have that track record, so I'm not going to trust him. I would need to see it for multiple weeks in a row before I would trust him at this point. I think he's probably more of a play for next year, more so than anything else. So easily Juju for me there. Next one might be kind of surprising. Devonta Smith at Houston or Tyler Boyd versus the Panthers. I think I'm going with Boyd pretty easily here. With Chase out, he is going to get plenty of work. Has a nice, easy matchup, but not too easy. And that, the Bengals offense hasn't been great. So you shouldn't see a game script get flipped. Where on the Eagles side, I could see that being a very high-powered running game and Devonta just having an average week. I think that exists there. So of the two, I'm going with Boyd. Next one up, another PPR again, Keenan Allen at Atlanta, assuming he plays, and Gabe Davis at the Jets. I think this one's easily Gabe Davis for me. You're definitely not happy with his consistency. He's a guy that will get you 13 points 1 week and 4 the next, and that's not something you like relying on. But Keenan Allen last week, not a ton of usage. As of this recording, again, didn't practice on Wednesday. So maybe, they'll play some situation where they rest on Wednesday, Thursday, get him practice on Friday and trot him out there. But, even if that happens, I'm not sure you can trust his usage. He was out there last week and didn't do a lot. So I'm going to go with Gabe because I know he's going to be out there and getting a full workload. Keenan, I don't trust. And moving to the final start sit question, PPR. We have Juju again versus the Titans, Deontay Foreman at Cincinnati, or Allen Lazard at Detroit. Juju, probably the one I trust the least out of this group still. And that's, the consistency of Lazard when he's playing, and that's a big if he's playing this week. He's got the connection with Rodgers. He's been good for fantasy. So I trust his consistency. Foreman, I think, is just the starter there and gets plenty of work. We saw some good things from him, last week and last year. But out of the three, I'd probably go with Lazard. Juju probably has the most upside. If you need 25 points, something like that, it's probably more Juju that has that. But in that offense, it could be the Kelsey show or Kelsey and MVS or McKinnon gets something, it could be weird and Juju just ends up, we've seen it all year. It's just a few catches here and there. Where Lazard, when he's out there, he's usually pretty good for fantasy. You can guarantee his volume. So I'll take that. So we'll go with Lazard at Detroit. And then moving over to the trade questions, we got 3 Dynasty, 2 Redraft. Starting with Dynasty here, Standard League, Christian McCaffrey or Fournette, Godwin, and Foreman. This is a very interesting deal, very situational. So I'll say if you are a one-loss team, you're looking good, you have a ton of depth, and you want to trade some of that depth in for a game breaker like Christian McCaffrey, I'm all for it. Makes complete sense to me. On the flip side, if you're, a couple games below 500, you need to find a way to get into the playoffs, and you just lack the ability to properly fill out your roster on a week-to-week basis. You're taking too many gambles. I'm okay breaking up CMC into Fournette, Godwin, and Foreman. Fournette and Foreman, I think will be solid running backs the rest of the year. Godwin, decent. So yeah, I'm good with both sides in that situation. If you are, if you're a team that's, again, a one-loss team and you're thinking about breaking McCaffrey up into these pieces, I wouldn't be doing that. So stick to the scenario I laid out there. The next one here, 2 quarterback dynasty, DeAndre Swift or Mixon and a late 24 first. Pretty easy at this point. I'll go with Mixon, which is a shame because, you have he's not old, but older running back. In a first that's 2 years away, or a young running back that people are really hopeful for. It's just, we've seen a lot of injuries with Swift. We haven't seen the breakout that we've wanted to see. Mixon continues to be good for fantasy, and a first is pretty valuable in a 2 QB league. So I'll take Mixon in the first, unfortunately. This next one I think is probably the most difficult out of them all. PPR, Romeo Doubs and a 23 second or Amari Cooper. I think just straight up, I'll take Dobbs. I'll take the shot on him and grab a second, because Amari Cooper will probably be decent, good for fantasy. But he's never going to hit that high watermark like we were all hopeful for back in, the Oakland days and what we were hoping he would do with Dak. And, those days I think are behind us and he'll just start fading off. Maybe be a value come, redraft season where you can grab Amari Cooper in, whatever, the 6th, 7th round or something like that, because he's just a forgotten guy, but he'll end up being a solid 2 for you or whatever. But from a dynasty standpoint, Dobbs has some upside to him in that offense that's looking for a wide receiver. Still definitely a dart throw. No question about that. But I think a decent dart throw, and getting a second's always good too, whether you want to, make a pick with it or use it for trade ammo. I'm happy there. Then on the redraft side, 10-team PPR, we have Josh Allen and Saquon, or Tua and Aaron Jones. So this one also very difficult. You take a downgraded quarterback. It's tough with the quarterback. Josh Allen, I think, is just playing too well. Tua, because of the injury, we don't have a nice showing of consistency from him. If he had these consistently good weeks, I would be more willing to call that even, but he doesn't. So I'll take Josh Allen because he looks like a league winner, and Barkley's been great. So yeah, I'll go with the Josh Allen side on that front. And last question, redraft PPR, Daniel Jones and Najee Harris for Kyler Murray and Adam Thielen. This is one you wouldn't think you'd be making here earlier in the season. But I think at the end of the day, it's easy the Kyler side for me. Daniel Jones has been good for fantasy, but Kyler has just a better upside to him. Najee's the tough one to lose here, but he just hasn't been the running back you wanted this year. So to trade him in for Thielen, I think it's fine, provided you have the running back depth to do it. I know people have spent a lot of the season hoping he would get back to form, but at this point, you got to readjust on Najee. It just ain't going to happen. Maybe next year, but not this year. So I'll take the Kyler Thielen side on that front. So yeah, definitely shorter, coming in around 15 minutes. But that is fine. That is fine. So tune in next week. Another waiver show, another start sit show. Will should be back as well. So until then, folks, good luck this week and trust your board.